Welcome to the 2021 Kinesis Guide video. Now, as always, this is not a skill showcase. I'm actually here to teach you guys how to play the class. There's a time step in the video, so feel free to skip ahead. But before you make your comment, make sure you watch the full video and pay attention to the pop-ups on the screen, because your questions probably already been answered. And last is, I'm not going to read what the skills do because you guys can read that on your own. I'm just going to explain to you guys how it works and how to use it. That being said, let's get on with the video. So Kinesis is a psychic class that uses psychic points to cast his abilities, known as PP. But we're not going to call it PP because it sounds like you need to use the washroom, so we're just going to call it psychic points moving on. Okay, so let's start with the 5th job skills, starting with ultimate psychic Shockwave. Now this ability right here, it's super effective for mobbing. It has long range, and if you position it right, you should be able to hit the top and bottom platform. This is your main mobbing ability, and you will use this to mob in pretty much almost every map. You're going to use this. Alright, so not much I can really say about it. It's super effective for mobbing. I wouldn't recommend using it for bossing just because it's a lot harder to manage your psychic points, and we'll talk about managing psychic points later on. But yeah, it's simple mobbing, and you can see it moving right, left, and not much I can really say. It's a really powerful skill, and it's your mobbing ability. So moving on to the next skill. Okay, so the next skill is Mind Over Matter. This ability is your strongest 5th job skill, and you're mainly going to be using this for bossing. How it works is when you cast it, it shoots like this object that slowly moves away from you, and you can use these tools such as what's in your 3rd job, the Ultimate Assault, which you're able to push it downwards or move it right or left. So the faster it moves, the more damage it deals, and to be able to make it move really fast, just push it 2 times and it does that. Also, when the duration is up, it will explode and hit everything in the area. One thing you need to know is that if you press the skill again, it comes back to you. So knowing these tips, you should be able to always keep this ability always on the boss. So yeah, you mainly want to use this for bossing, not for mobbing. As you can see right here, me doing Chaos Vellum, I'm always keeping it on the boss. So yeah, that's how you use it, and mobbing is not very effective because Psychic Shockwave just does the job. And yeah, this is your strongest 5th job skill, and it's your bossing tool. So moving on to the next skill. So the next skill is Law of Gravity. This is your 2nd strongest 5th job skill, and this is going to be your bossing ability. You do not need this for mobbing. Like I said before, like Psychic Shockwave just does the job. And this ability, how it works is that you need to target, and you throw like this energy on the target, right? And then mobs around the area will be sucked into it. If the mob does not die, or if the mob dies, then it will just take its place. And if there's no mobs around, you'll see objects going inside of the little energy circle thing. But yeah, it's not effective for mobbing because it's kind of hard to position it right, because it'll go to the mob with the highest HP. And I find it more effective to just use it for bossing because it's so powerful. And like I said, like Psychic Shockwave, it just does the job, so I recommend just sticking with that one. So yeah, this is your bossing tool. It's only 5 points to cast. The next one is Psychic Tornado. Now this one, you build like this dice that slowly builds up, and it hits everything around the area. And when the duration is up, your character will automatically throw it, or if you press the skill, you'll throw it. This ability is super expensive. It's 15 points to cast. I do not recommend using this for bossing and for mobbing. Okay, I'm going to jump in right here. I used the wrong words right here. What I meant is that it's so expensive that I find that using your hyper skill to activate is just easier. Or if you just are really good at managing your psychic points, then you should just do that. For mobbing, if it's a large map, then yeah, I'm sure it could be really effective. But most people, we just go for medium to small size maps. And for me, I just use it when I'm going to loot the messos on the floor. Okay, so let's talk about mobbing and bossing. How is the mobbing? How's the bossing? So the mobbing, it's super simple, as you can see in these clips. It's very simple. I like it. No complaints about it. You just need to manage your psychic points, which we'll get into later on. So bossing. Now bossing, the character has a lot of inputs into the game. If you see this right here, I'm laying all this out right here. I guess this would be considered a burst. Now, I may not be doing this the optimal way, and I'm not even using my 5th job skills, and you can see it's a lot of inputs. I have 3 debuffs. I have my 2 strongest skills, which is Metal Press and the Train, and then I'm auto-attacking with Psychic Grab. And then it's a lot of inputs you have to put into the game, and it's very difficult to pull this off because it's not like the boss is going to stay in place. This character has a lot of damage. Like, his damage is definitely up there, but it's hard to get the most damage because the boss is not going to stay in place unless you use a bind, known as a stun. So it's challenging, and I can't really explain like how you would pull it off. it just depends on the boss. I'm sure with a lot of practice, I'm sure you guys will get the hang of how to get the most damage. But yeah, I always try to make sure I get the debuffs on, and then I try to, if the boss stops, I'll try to use the train. I find that having the boss in the corner, I can get the train. I can pull off the train there. Because if the boss is in the corner, it's a lot easier to keep them in one place. So yeah. So let's talk about managing psychic points. So managing psychic points, we have a couple of abilities here, like the psychic charger. You get 45-second cooldown. You get a bunch of psychic points with this. Then we have your hyper skill, the mental tempest. It's also an iframe. And then we have the overlord, which is another hyper skill that I explained about before. And then the last one is in your hyperstats. You can take this right here. We'll give you an extra bar of psychic points. And then you have the Goddess of Blessing. This one's super good because you're constantly gaining psychic points. So those are all the ways on how to manage your psychic points. So now, so there shouldn't be any complaints on how to manage your psychic points. I'm sure if you use these abilities, you space them out, you'll be totally fine. So let's talk about survivability and movement. Now, these are 3 iframe skills right here. The first one, like I explained before, Mental Tempest, is also your iframe skill. One thing you need to know about this is if you use your flying ability, which is Kinetic Jolt, you can actually cancel the animation and move around freely. This is super important, especially in boss fights. So I'd recommend doing that one. And then the other one is this right here. Oh, that was a clutch one right there.
Boy!
I survived that.
Holy shit, Nat actually survived that.
Okay, so for Deep Impact, it's actually not an iframe, it's actually a teleport skill. And I only find this useful when you're in Lotus Phase 1. Here's a couple of examples that you can see here. And then about this right here, this is where we have our stun here. And then yeah, let's talk about the shield. So the shield, it reduces damage, but when you get hit, you lose psychic points. I don't like using this ability that often, only against certain bosses like Crimson Queen and Magnus. Other bosses, I actually turn the shield off. That's just me personally. That's what I like to do. But yeah, I think his survivability and movement is really good with the double flash jumps. Also, we have this ability here, which allows us to cancel knockback abilities. So yeah, let's talk about hyperstats, hyper skills, and invulnerability. So for hyperstats, there's no one size fit all, like I always say, because we have things like equipment, Legion, and Link skills. If you're lacking, let's say if you're lacking crit rate, maybe you should take crit rate here. If not, if it's a new character, maybe you should put up bonus experience. Remember, you can always reset this all the time, so don't feel like you have to do this. You want to put up whatever you're lacking, so that's the best answer. And also this, I wouldn't recommend taking this right away, the psychic points. I'd recommend taking that later on because you might need the other points at the beginning. So yeah, moving on to hyper skills, I'd go with this setup. This right here is what I find that is most effective. Alright, so try this one out. Okay, so I guess now we're on V Matrix. So for V Matrix, as you can see on the screen, this right here is what I'm using. I'd recommend using these boost nodes, or I guess tri-nodes. These are the skills that you're mainly going to be using, and then these are the V skills that I'd recommend getting. Remember, these 4 skills that you see on the screen, those are your strongest abilities, so you want to make sure you use those. And yeah, that's pretty much it about V Matrix. So pros and cons. So one pro is I like how his mobbing, it's super simple. His damage is definitely up there, really good survivability, and yeah, he doesn't have much buffs. He only has like 3 buffs, which I really like. And I guess moving on to cons. So moving on to cons is that the character, he has a lot of inputs, okay, as you saw in the screen, like right here. He has a lot of inputs, and it's hard to pull off all this damage against mobs that move around a lot, especially Damien, Vellum, and Magnus, because they're constantly like going into the ground and flying in the air. It's hard to pull this off right here. So I find that it could be very difficult. And then people say, is the class ping reliant? Okay, look, if you're in Egypt, you probably shouldn't be playing on the North American servers. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm in Toronto, Canada, so like I don't get those type of problems. And you guys have to understand, like the character is a psychic class, you guys. You guys try holding like 4 tons of a dice above your head and moving around. You know, sometimes the character gets a nosebleed, and in some cases, and this could happen. Yeah. Final thoughts is, I really like this class. It's super simple with the mobbing, but you do have to manage your psychic points, and that could be kind of annoying to some people. But once you get the hang of it, it shouldn't be a problem. I feel like I have so many tools to deal with whatever situation I'm put up against. I like the mobbing a lot. I think his bossing it's interesting. I'm getting used to it still. And I know he has a lot of DPS, especially in the top DPS charts, which I would not recommend playing those type of characters, but I'm just saying his DPS is definitely up there. And lastly, what I'll say is that he doesn't have much buffs. And I don't like characters like Phantom, Xenon, and Wind Archer because those characters has too many buffs. Like I have a Xenon, level 120, no hyper skills, no 5th job. I have 6 buffs and 3 toggle abilities. You literally have to have buff freezers on speed dial and 3 pets with auto buffs. And if you don't have that and you die, then you're literally in the corner buffing for 10 minutes straight. I don't like classes like that, and I like how the Xenon, he doesn't have much buffs, so I really like that. I guess those are my final thoughts on the class. This will be my main moving forward. And yeah, I guess that's all. So if you guys have any questions, just leave it in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful, make sure to share this video and share it to somebody that is looking to maybe play the Kinesis. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Nah, how the hell did you survive that? You went to the right.
Oh shit, I died.
Ew, you're so noob. Ew, you're T20, how'd you die? Whoa, how'd you take that?